I guarantee you, George, that I will get more than 15% of the vote, and it will be shocking to some and some of the pundits.
A huge prediction from Kendrick Meek. He is not dropping out, and he is aiming high.
That's the new bar, 15%. Top line begins right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Jonathan Karl.
Every day at noon Eastern, we're right here bringing you the latest in politics, everything you need to know. Twitter.com/Rick Klein, Twitter.com/John Karl. And our hashtag today is Slurpee Day because in honor of President Obama's characterizations of the Republicans, we are indeed going to sip from our Slurpees and observe politics today,
and the Slurpees are red.
They are red.
Because what else would Republicans be drinking at this
that's
point?
That's the right color, I believe. Kick us off today, sir.
All right, well, you heard it, 15%. Sorry, Bill Clinton. Kendrick Meek is not getting out of the race down in Florida. He's still, voters down there will still have Kendrick Meek to kick around, but he is not exactly optimistic. I mean, I don't think I've ever quite heard somebody set the bar so low. He will beat 15%.
Yeah. And what better statement do you need about the state of the race as far as Democrats are concerned that at the 11th hour we get leaked information that the former president is trying to push the Democratic candidate out instead to have the independent boosted. I mean, this is just kind of
the independent, lifelong Republican.
Right, the guy who was almost John McCain's running mate. I mean, this is really desperation politics because Florida is not on the map as far as Democrats are concerned. The fact that they're trying to move things around to the last second to make it happen doesn't speak well to everything about their chances. Next up today, props to Perriello. President Obama campaigning for Tom Perriello in his Charlottesville, Virginia-based district this evening. And of course, this is the race that Democrats love to highlight as the chance for a red district Democrat to survive, even if he supports the Obama agenda. Of course, John, this is a very close race. Polls showing him down, but if they've got one victory they can pull off, the White House would like this to be.
And I got to say, I do love this race. I went down to Perriello's district during the healthcare madness of August of last year. Went to one of his town hall meetings. And this is a guy who has not run away from everything. He voted for health care, of course. He voted for the stimulus. He voted for cap and trade. And he's embracing it all. I mean, and he's in a district that is about as tough as a district can be and still produce a Democrat. So we'll see. The great experiment, we'll call him. Next up, the Schumer-Schuller shuffle. The knives are out not just for Nancy Pelosi, but also for Harry Reid. We now hear that Heath Schuler, Democrat of North Carolina, is saying that he'll run for Speaker of the House. If there's nobody else there to challenge Nancy Pelosi, that's of course assuming there's going to be a Democratic Speaker of the House. And a fascinating front page story in the New York Times saying that Chuck Schumer working very hard, of course, to get Harry Reid reelected, but doing some behind-the-scene moves to replace him should he get taken out.
Just in case there's a there's a chance for new leadership. But I love that Heath Schuler. If there is no viable alternative to Pelosi, then of
sounds
course
a lot like our friend Sarah Palin.
That's right.
Speaking of which,
if nobody else can do it. Speaking of which, exactly, Mystery Alaska. Things are getting really interesting in Sarah Palin's home state, and they're going to stay interesting for weeks, if not months, after Election Day. That race is tightening. We're seeing Sarah Palin's favorite candidate, Joe Miller, dropping in the polls. Lisa Murkowski's surging. You got to hand it to her. She's got that write-in campaign, and it does look like people are learning to spell her name. And speaking of remembering names, Democrats all of a sudden know who Scott McAdams is. How about that?
Yeah. This is great. And let's just be clear, if we could just do a little self-promotion here. This is the top-line race of record.
This is the bounce.
We were the first to interview Joe Miller. We were among the very first, maybe even the first off the check.
That's right.
To interview Scott McAdams. We were the ones to inform the Democrats who their candidate was up there. I mean, I think this is an important pivotal race.
It's a huge moment.
And top line.
It is, and almost as big as the fact that we've got the Slurpees today, which is very exciting. And Amy Walter, I know you're watching. We've got one chilling for you as well when you join us again. We're joined today.
On assignment.
On assignment, as they say. Evan Tracy from the Campaign Media Analysis Group, CMAG, president of CMAG, thank you for being here. And you and your organization get to watch every one of these ads. We always like superlatives in our business. Is this the biggest spending, the most ever, or something like that?
Yes, this is a colossal avalanche of advertising. How about that?
There you go.
We're on track for a record year. We should be around $3 billion with a B, well surpassing the 2008 and 2006, the last time the midterms were held. So, yeah, big year for ads.
Okay, and you guys, I mean, just to be clear, you guys actually watch all these things, you tabulate them, you see how much money is being spent, you look at what issues run. I want to have you take a listen to a little clip from Jon Stewart last night about the Democratic ads.
This is fun.
Those aren't just your electoral opponents. These are your mortal enemies.
Turncoat. Shameless. Corrupt.
Tom Campbell, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Reid actually voted to use taxpayer dollars to pay for Viagra for convicted child molesters.
Not only is Harry Reid unfit to be a senator, he is unfit to walk amongst humans.
That was actually not the clip I was thinking of. That was about the Republican ads, but he also goes on and hits all these Democratic ads that hit on personal issues. And I've been watching a lot of these. I mean, it's unbelievable. The Democrats have really decided that the way to attack these Republican candidates is find something creepy in their past.
Yeah, we've come a long way past the nanny problem. Remember how that was the big disqualifier for candidates if you didn't pay taxes on your nanny. This year, it's going back to college, it's divorce records, you name it, it's coming out in a political ad if it's at all embarrassing. And this is a problem. Democrats are actually leading this charge this year. Incumbents don't want to talk about Washington, so it leaves them really no road to travel but right at their opponents. And that means trying to disqualify an opponent, because in an anti-Washington climate, that's really what they're trying to use to move the needle here.
And Republicans are attacking every bit as much as a percentage base as Democrats.
Well, here, Republicans are just trying to figure out new ways to say Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi. I mean, you look at their advertising, they've had incredible message discipline. In other words, they haven't left those two targets of opportunity, and they're attaching the Democrat in the race to them. And this goes down to the most localist of races. This isn't just reserved for federal candidates. There's people running for state house, state reps, city council that are bringing Obama and Pelosi into their ads. So Republicans have said, look, this is how we're going to nationalize this election. It's going to be an up and down vote on the current party in power. And Democrats have had to go really personal, really negative. Not to say Republicans haven't, but they've just done it less.
Let's try to quantify, if you can, the outside group spending, because there's been so much made of that. But there's a lot of this is actually being spent by campaign committees and by candidates themselves. How does the outside group spending compare? I mean, candidates are still getting their message through.
Yeah, absolutely. If you roll it all up, Republicans have about a 2-to-1 advantage across all races. It's a little greater in the House and Senate races. But really what it's been is almost like a bridge loan to challengers. If you look at how Republicans have used the new rules with the Citizens United ruling, they've used their groups basically to go on the air and basically minimize the incumbent advantage. Usually incumbents are on the air 5, 6, 7 weeks before the challenger candidate can afford to go on. And all the groups this year on the Republican side went into those races where they had incumbents and underfunded challengers and basically offered them a bridge loan of ads until the challengers could go up on the air. Now they're staying on the air. The parties, on the other hand, very different strategy from the Democrats right now. They seem to have sat on their money to almost this wait till you see the whites of their eyes moment and just try and have this very loud megaphone here in these last 10 days. So you're starting to see a Democratic advantage in ad spending from the party. But they really sort of waited till the last minute. It'll be interesting to see if these ads can break through in these environments.
So you're saying that up to this point, Republicans, if you include all the outside groups, have had a 2-to-1 advantage in
just by groups. If you roll up both parties,
if you add them all
candidates,
together,
groups and parties, Democrats actually have an advantage. So
really,
so what the Republican groups have done is kind of minimize this power of incumbency.
But overall, Democrats still spending more money.
Overall, Democrats have spent more. There's some variables in there, like you got to take kind of Meg Whitman out of the equation, and some of the other self-funders. But if you kind of if you roll them up, it's dead even or a Democrat advantage at this point. Democrats, like I said, incumbents have lots of money. They're spending it. But you look at races like Barney Frank's race. He's on the air 3 weeks earlier than he's ever been on. John Spratt, who didn't run an ad the last cycle, has been spending as fast as he can. Same thing with Dingell. So a lot of these incumbents who didn't really think they'd be running ads this early are running ads early.
So when Democrats come out and say that the reason why they lost so badly was because of Citizens United and because of these outside groups, how disingenuous or accurate will that be?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, look, if you go back to 2004, 2006, 2008, Democrats had an advantage on what they did with their groups. Republicans this year are clearly doing it better. Now, is that pent-up demand because they weren't happy in 06 and 08 that's coming out because of things like health care, financial reform? Or is it Democrats sitting on their wallet because they didn't get what they wanted out of health care and out of cap and trade, don't ask, don't tell? So, I think everybody will spin this. The facts will be made to fit their version of the truth. Right. But it's really hard to say, okay, is this Democrats sitting on their wallets or it's Republicans just doing it better? Because Democrats really did it better in the last 3 elections.
Right, exactly. Evan Tracy from CMAG, we appreciate you being with us, and take your Slurpee with you.
I couldn't ask a better time to be on Slurpee Day.
It is Slurpee Day, indeed.